2021 is the 25th anniversary of the Telecommunications Act of 1996, the last comprehensive update to Internet regulation. The Internet has experienced more than a few updates since 1996, but Internet regulations have not. That's why Facebook supports updated regulations on key issues like preventing election interference, protecting people's privacy, reforming Section 230, and more. See Facebook's progress on key issues and what's next at about.fb.com/regulations.
Streaming only on Peacock.
John Wayne Gacy killed 32.
Straight from the killer's mouth.
They want you to believe that I alone committed these murders.
The new gripping 6-part documentary series, John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise. All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
Together with American songwriter, we had the opportunity to talk to Paul of Polo and Pan over Zoom video. Paul talked to us about where he grew up and how he got into music. He has this fascinating story about how there's a photograph of both of his grandparents on each side of his family. There's a picture of his grandfather on his dad's side of the family with his dad when he was 1, and his grandmother on his mom's side of the family pregnant with his mom. And then obviously 20 some years later they meet and they ended up having Paul. He tells us how he got into music. He actually went to school for business. He had a job at Microsoft, and DJing and electronic music has always been a passion of his since he was about 17, 18 years old when he got his first computer and started writing electronic music. He tells us how he kind of got in the door at some of these clubs that he was able to DJ early on, how him and his friends rented this massive industrial building, and they built apartments in there, and they used to hold these huge parties, these 36-hour raves and techno parties. So there's this crazy stories there. How he met Alex, the other half of Polo and Pan, and how this project really started. He also talked to us about playing Cross Festival in San Diego, their set at Coachella in 2019, and how they kind of needed this downtime over the past year and a half to really put together this new record that just came out, which is called Cyclorama. You can watch our interview with Paul of Polo and Pan on our YouTube channel and Facebook page at Bringing It Backwards. It'd be incredible if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and, of course, like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Bringing Back Pod.
We'd appreciate your support if you follow and subscribe to our podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're Bringing It Backwards with Polo and Pan. Our podcast is all about you, your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new record you guys have coming out in about, 10 days from now? And
Yeah, exactly. Coming out in 10 days for sure. Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. So first off, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Normandy. My mom is American. She's from New Jersey. My dad is French, quarter British, quarter American. So I'm quite like the Anglo-Saxon family, but brought up on a farm in Normandy. My dad went to Harvard and then took over the family farm. So he's more like a educated farmer, let's say, the farmer gentleman.
Yeah, wow.
And voila, my mom is typical. Yeah, she's like from New Jersey, but she went to Woodstock. She had all this like musical background. She saw the Doors in New York in '69. So she gave me a lot of this interest for musical culture in general.
That's insane. That's amazing. Did your parents meet when your dad was at Harvard?
Yeah, they met. They met at a party in New York. I think my dad was at Harvard at that moment, but they met in New York. And funny story is that my mom's parents came to Paris in the 50s after the war for the Marshall Plan. And my grandfather was part of the Marshall Plan. And my grandmother was at Beaux-Arts. She was studying art sculpture in Paris.
Oh, wow.
And back then they met my family, my French family. And they were invited to the country house of my family. And there's a picture of my grandfather with my dad that's 1 year old. And my American grandmother she's pregnant. So they met like at that moment.
Wow.
And then 23 years later, they met in New York.
That's fascinating. That's so incredible. So you guys obviously have that picture.
Yeah. So it's great. Like when my mom met my dad, she came back to her family and said, I met this guy, Frédéric Armandelli, and her family were like, wow, that's amazing. Like, go for it. He's got this beautiful house in France, and like he seems like his father seems like a great person. But anyways, like our families were a bit interconnected like that. And
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so cool. And then you said you were born
in Normandy. In Normandy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in Normandy. And I was there for a few years. My parents, it sounded like a perfect happy end story, but my parents got divorced when I was 11. So then I moved with my mom to the suburbs of Paris. I was in this little small town, like 30,000 person town called Senlis.
Okay.
And when I was 18, I moved to Paris back with my dad and started my studies in business.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was going to ask you if education was a big thing. I mean, considering your dad went to Harvard, I didn't know if they pushed that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of academic pressure. My sister is a bit of an overachiever. She speaks 9 languages, works for Google, and like, she went straight. And wow. I wasn't a straight A student. So, but I kind of got by, and no, I got to like around when I was 17, 16, I was really not motivated anymore. And like, I kind of found music this summer. I finished high school, and I was starting this école de commerce. You start business schools earlier, like we call it business school, but it was college. It was kind of a college moment. Mm-hmm. And I listened to Moon Safari that summer. I was smoking my first joints and like kind of like all glued together. I was like, shit, This is amazing. Like, how do they do this music? Like, how can I, I got really interested and fascinated by it. Never thought I could make a career in music, but that's like it started from there. I got a computer, I got a bit of software. I bought some turntables. I started going out in Paris, going to like parties and discovering the electronic music scene, the club music scene also. Mm-hmm. And really music became my whole life.
Wow. And weed, of course.
They were quite intertwined. Not so much anymore, and I never thought like the music would survive the weed. I really thought they were completely gelled together, but actually, now like I don't need them. I write sober all the time, and like I can enjoy a little something once in a while when I'm partying, but it's not part of my process.
That's amazing. Well, prior to getting the software and a computer and really focusing on electronic music, were you ever in piano lessons, or did you do anything else musically prior to that?
So my dad is a great guitarist, and he can play Bach, and he can play, like, he's a really amazing guitarist. So was my grandfather. So and he spent some time in Brazil. He can play some really nice South American music and stuff. But anyways, I did some, when I was 7, I did some solfège, just like I never played the instrument for some reason. The teacher was like, he has to do 1 year of education, like learning the theory before he plays an instrument, which is really weird. And so I did 1 year of solfège, and then I think I quit. I got tired of it. But then when I was 13, I did 1 year or 2 of classical guitar, which I'm really glad I did. I never got that good back then, and I'm not a great guitarist, but just yesterday I was still deciphering some bossa nova, and I'm still working on my guitar, and I enjoy it. And now I'm self-educated myself over the past 5 years of piano.
Okay.
And I think the bit of theory I got, like now I study theory a lot, and now I'm working on my instruments right now. Like my goal is to be able to just like jam away, like by the time I'm 60 and actually do some real music at some point.
Well, I'm sure that kind of comes into play with your music now, right? Do you use any of that theory when you're writing songs now?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I use a lot of the theory. I played on Canopé. That's one of the first time I grabbed my guitar and like recorded something, that guitar riff, that bossa nova riff.
Oh, so really?
That was an important. Yeah, that's an important. It's like the only riff. Like I can't play 10,000 things, but that I could play well. I kind of nailed that groove down. Uh-huh. So I use that, and I've recorded quite a bit of guitar and pull on pan, but I don't perform live with my guitar that much, just because it's not relevant. It's only a few songs in the show, and I can't nail it every time. I'm not that kind of guitarist who's really like, working on his instrument at that level. But I'd love to do an unplugged session for Paul and Pan one day and like really just play more instruments.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, I was watching your live sets from like a Cross Festival. I'm from San Diego, so I watched your set from Cross, which is so dope.
Yeah,
and a little bit
fun.
And a little bit of your Coachella set as well. And I was thinking, like, if you threw guitar in, it might be a little. You're like, okay, hang on, let me go grab this guitar for like 2 songs and then put it. You know, it doesn't really.
Exactly, like some bands can do it, but the way we configured our live show, it's not about musicianship. It is about performance. Sometimes we perform some stuff, but it's not like, wow, they got these amazing solos. No, it's like, wow, they have a great show. They have the energy is there. It's about fun and communication, and it's engaging. And that's exactly what we don't try to play every part. We just try to play specific parts where people can understand. Because when you have all these like MIDI controls and stuff, a lot of the time people don't even know what you're doing. You know, like they're tweaking buttons and like, so we try to make it very simple and digestible and like relatable for the audience.
Yeah, I love that you said engaging, because that's exactly what I felt when I was watching your show. Because I mean, sometimes in electronic music, like you said, people don't really know what's going on. They might think, oh, he's just pushing some buttons, but no, there's really like you're orchestrating everything that's happening. But the way that you have the mic and you're up there talking and you're really engaging the crowd, I love that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's really well, I owe a lot to Alex for that, because Alex is the extrovert in the band and he's the crowd pleaser. He's really connected to the crowd, and I'm a little more internal, and I'm pursuing like personal goals sometimes with music. And this show, a lot of the direction comes from him. And this is like we're smart in the way that we let each other lead when we feel naturally the other one has something to give. And he said like, really, this is not about you. Let's just do something easy. We're not going to don't over challenge yourself. We're not like the best musicians in the world, so let's just make this fun for the audience, and then we can build on that and become better musicians. And we've been adding more and more stuff in the show. The show, like by the end of the tour, was becoming we're playing more and more parts. But it's always the reference. The point of reference is the audience, and it's got to be about them. And there's so many ways with electronic music to bring a show, like to perform the music. Picking them as the point of reference instead of us I thought was a smart, wise decision. Like good angle.
No, definitely. I want to go back to when you got this computer and started making music. You said you started a little bit late. If you're in college, kind of in the beginning of college, once, like, how did you even start? Like, you get the computer and the program, was it all self-taught? Like, how did you learn to program beats? And
it's a software that some of your audience might know called EJ. Like, sounds very 2000. And so it was a sample. It was a software. It had like a sequencer, but it was loaded with samples. So you just like, you had beats and bass lines and this and that. And so I used just like all the preset samples to make kind of house music tracks, like or something, like 120 BPM. And then they had a sample pack. So I started buying sample packs. And for maybe 3 or 4 years, I didn't record anything. I didn't produce anything. I was just messing around with samples, smoking. But I remember my best friend back then, Olivier, who we were really passionate about air, and like he was big into classical music too. And I thought I might I wanted to create something with him. But yeah, on one of our first songs, we actually did record. He played the clarinet, so we recorded the clarinet, and we made this pretty cool song. Like we were trying to emulate some of Moon Safari, some stuff like that. I really didn't quite hit the spot, but no, there was already a bit of recording, but then I kind of put that aside and like was doing samples for 2 years after that. And it took a long time until I actually started really it's also the way I saw it. I was entertaining myself, I was having fun, I was still like very adolescent in my energy, and I wasn't projecting myself as this being anything more than just me having a great time. And it was very personal, and like for my friends, and like they would enjoy the beats and so on. But I never thought of marketing it, selling it. I never thought I could make a living out of it. I wasn't DJing back then for money, so it was very, it was just me like, but creating a universe already. Like I did like 800 songs, maybe, of that. Like there's so much production. I mixed albums together. Wow. But I was just, I was super productive, but it was also pretty easy, just like, taking samples together.
But it was all for yourself. When did you start sharing that aside from with your friends? Like when did you like attempt to start performing your own songs as far as like in a party setting?
I never performed those songs, and I started performing more as a DJ. Let me try to figure it out, because I remember writing those CDs and like handing them out to a couple DJs. Back then I really like Hotel Cost. I don't know if you know those compilations, Hotel Cost from Stéphane Pompignac, but it's a hotel in Paris that released these lounge compilations, which were actually
cool.
really, really good. There were some really bad ones, but they kind of set the tone for that. And so I went to Hotel Cost and I pushed the door and I met the DJs there, and I was playing all vinyl there.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing vinyl, and yeah, this is a pretty foggy moment of my life, because I was just like smoking all the time. I have to try to remember the moment where I actually started DJing and making money. It was probably much further down the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, this is like 2000 to 2005. Until I graduated, I was just kind of messing around, but always just listening to music and doing music.
Mm-hmm.
But not in a very serious way. I didn't really have the financial resources to invest in the studio. If I had, I would have done it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working. I was working summers in a summer camp in the U.S. in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And I picked up guitar there for like really serious. I started playing a lot that summer with some friends, and that was already an interesting part where I really learned how to read chords, play chords. So I started building all these new skills, let's say, and that brings us to let me think, because what happened is around when I graduated, I worked for my last internship was for an electronic music label called Versatile Records.
Oh, cool. So you went right into music, though. It wasn't like you were working some totally different career.
The big brother of my girlfriend back then worked for Versatile Records, and he was an intern there, and he said, like, you should take this internship. He was a DJ too.
Okay.
And so, but also a bedroom DJ. And anyways, I did that. That was a really interesting experience, kind of meeting people from the scene, and also seeing what it is actually to Versatile is a real legit label.
Mm-hmm.
And Gilbert is an amazing guy, but it was just an interesting experience, but it still wasn't that. At the end of that, I moved on to work for Microsoft.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I thought I was going to be swallowed by the big machine, like just go into the system.
Yeah.
And this is when there's an intense moment in my life when I went to the US, and I was really upset about this. I just broke up with that girlfriend too.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being in my country house, my grandparents' house in Far Hills, New Jersey. It was snowing outside, walking out, and having a real epic moment where I was crying. I was so depressed, and I had this prayer. I was like, God, I hadn't prayed like maybe in 15 years. I was like, God, like, I really want to do music, but now I'm like, my path is like, I'm being swallowed by the machine, and like, I'll give my life to music, and to you, I want to do something, but like, help me do this. And interestingly, the same day I found the Lawrence of Arabia DVD and Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist, in my bedside table. So I kind of like looked at those things, and I was like, wow, these are amazing. It kind of sounds like an answer. Mm-hmm. And The Alchemist especially was like, you have to look at the signs of life. Signs are going to appear when you want to find. The universe is trying to help you do what you want to do. And so about 2 weeks later, I went back to Paris, and I met this person who came to me, and it was a girl, but she just, she kind of had this message for me, and said, like, I started recording music with her. Basically, I was working for Microsoft, but she would stay at my place, and she's like, you got to do the guitar. Like, it was exactly kind of this direct answer. So
wow,
it was a bit like a guardian angel kind of presence. This girl I saw for 2 months kind of disappeared. I never saw her again. Like, her phone disappeared. So it was quite kind of a mystical experience. And after that, I was on fire. Like, I started meeting a lot of people, going out. I was playing the guitar everywhere in in Paris, like on the streets. Like, I don't know, it really had this kind of like interesting moments. And that was like one of the craziest, like for 2-3 months in my life where like shit was happening all the time, crazy energy, meeting people. And that's when I started going to Le Baron, the club where I met Alex, like maybe 5 or 6 years later. So Le Baron was opening, and I would play guitar in the entrance of this club every night and have people sing like the Rolling Stones, Beatles, like do covers of like old songs. And and then I met this girl, Nina Lily J, with whom I wrote her a first song, and we recorded a few years later. We recorded my first album under the moniker Open Space and Stars, and that's kind of like a 60s energy record, and it's still online. The album's called Pop Prophecy. I was listening to it like just a week ago with some friends, and like, yeah, it's not quite there. It's got some interesting ideas.
It still holds up.
A couple of songs hold up. I like Tarot Divine. Like one of these songs, what are the songs? Tarot Divine. Like I told you about this really crazy girl who came, like who like kind of energized me, and she gave me this game of tarot. One of the first things she taught me how to read tarot, and she gave me a game of tarot. She was super mystical. She was like on another level. And anyways, so I wrote this song like I just flipped over the major arcans and major cards of the tarot and wrote in the order of the cards.
Wow.
And that song kind of holds up. Yeah, that's kind of cool concept. And like the song's pretty cool. It's got an oriental energy. And it's called Tarot Divine. And anyways, like at that moment, 2010, I had been DJing a bit for like kind of not so cool clubs. I was making money. I finished Microsoft. I skipped the part where I went to San Francisco. So yeah, it's a complex life trajectory. But so 2005, 2006, I get this crazy energy. I started playing the guitar a lot. In 2007, I'm working for Microsoft, and at the end of the internship, my boss says, "Hey, you should do music. You're a great intern. I love you, but like, don't do this. Stop this. Go do some music." And I got really lucky once again. I met a friend, like an old friend, who said, "Hey, you know what? Like this company called Mix Vibes, they're a DJ software company, and they're looking for a guy with an American passport to develop the US market." So I was like, wow, this sounds kind of like, like I got Microsoft, I got music passion, I've got the American passport. So I went to the interview, and we did this special contract where supported by the French government. I had the idea of this contract called VIE. It's instead of doing a military service, it's kind of developing strategic businesses, French businesses abroad. So they support you. It was very cheap for the company, in other words, to send me, and I got a great salary. I was living in San Francisco. I was alone, no presence and no visit ever of the company that sent me over the year and a half I spent there. And I had this big office downtown San Francisco, and I was making $3,000 a year, my first salary. So $3,000 a month. So I was like, wow, that's I was like, wow, so cool. Yeah. I had a blast there. I met some really good friends. Basically I was working the morning. I was doing some cold calling, developing the business. I was never a great salesman, but I was pretty good at marketing and selling the product, since I was very enthusiastic about DJing. And afternoons, I was just like producing music in this big office. I had turntables, I had all the gear sent by the partners. And I started writing a lot of songs, and I started DJing a lot. Also, I was this French DJ. It was the Justice period. So I had like this, this kind of like glamour around me. And whereas in Paris, like, just scoring a few gigs, in San Francisco, I kind of developed an image. That's awesome. Then when I came back a year and a half later, I had the image of DJing in San Francisco. So like,
it kind of works both ways for you.
Exactly. People, they always want what's, like a bit exotic and foreign. So anyways, when I came back around 2008, and I had these songs, and I wrote the first song with Nina Lily J in 2006 called Hey Little Girl, which is on the album. But I had these bunch of songs, and once again, through another external contact, just this guy said, "Oh, my dad is a cinema producer, but he loves Hey Little Girl, and he wants to produce your album. He's going to put like a little bit of money, $4,000. And I had a friend, Alexandre Jean, who had this great studio, who really like me and like our group of friends. And he said, sure, I will make your record for this price. And we did this first album, which is very imperfect, but I was never able to turn this into a big live performance. But it was so improbable. The struggle to get there was like a really big deal already, to be able to make a record, play a couple of shows. We played at the Cannes Film Festival for like a private show, a couple of things like this. And I got a band together because I recorded the album kind of alone and with Alex, but then I had to recruit a professional drummer and bassist. So like I learned some stuff about the business, but nearly signed with a big label. Finally, that fell through. So that's all up to 2010. And that's when I went to Greg, who was the booker at Le Baron, and said, hey man, like I'm DJing all these medium clubs in Paris. I love what's happening in Le Baron. I've been playing guitar here for a few years. It's really like, it was so full of energy, and like, it was really an amazing place. And so he said, yeah, sure. I'll give it, I'll give you a shot. And I had the first DJ set, I did a few more, and then I became a resident at Le Baron. And that was, I guess, a really big deal. A really big deal, since that was 2010, and I met Alex 2 years later. And I must say, at that time, 2010, so this is also the moment where I left Paris and I moved in to a factory outside of Paris in the north with some friends. We took over an industrial warehouse, and with my friend, and we moved into this 40,000 square feet space, which was industrial. And we made apartments. We like brought like giant bathtubs and like drapes, and like made some really like amazing kind of. It was crazy. There was a lot of energy. My friend Anatole he's British. He's very young, but he's a very romantic and crazy soul. And like, he bought this big white limousine for 2,000 euros that he found from a guy and fixed the limousine. So we had a limo, and like, it's like crazy lifestyle. And and we started throwing parties there. We would have like.
Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. Don't miss our 4th of July special. The new Queen Sleep Number 360 C2 Smart Bed is only $8.99. Plus free premium delivery when you add a base. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Every 2 weeks, 3,000 people come and throw the biggest techno parties and make a shitload of cash to fuel the space.
I was going to ask, you had to have parties there. That was when you said you had a 4,000, or you said 4,000?
3,000 was the max we had, but it was like 2,000 to 3,000. And
when you got that space, I'm like, you got to be having some parties there.
And it was a party that started like Saturday night and finished Monday morning sometimes. Like they had these it was La Concrète. It was a moment where techno was blowing up. Like after being down for 10 or 15 years, it was blowing up. And there was this team called La Concrète who partnered with us, and they would have like these 36-hour parties. So it did take a little toll on us, because it's quite unsettling to have a 36-hour party at your place every other week.
Can't imagine.
So there was some, always some good stuff, but it's also, it was a dangerous lifestyle, like you have no boundaries, all the temptations. You have big apartments above a party where there's like 3,000 people and they want to go after party and whatever. So that's at that moment I met Alex. I remember Alex and we were watching Ben Klock play in the warehouse. He's a massive DJ from Berghain, from Berlin, and just killing it, but at 2 p.m. at like in broad daylight outside, and it's just a fucking banging techno party that's been going on already for like 20 hours. Yeah. And we're like, yes, like it was so good. It was right as we were starting to record during the keyboard stuff. So yeah, it's hard. Like one day maybe I'll sit down and try to write it, because there's a lot of layers to all this build up, and I guess it's just like story. and the passion just, made me like keep on looking and looking until I found something that came together and worked. And I just really wanted it. And when I met Alex, I was already 32, and we started project when I was 33. So, by that time, my parents were already like, "Hey, like, what the fuck is up? What are you doing?" And
you're like throwing 36-hour parties. What do you think I'm doing?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure myself. I had some, there were some ups and downs, but I say since we started Paul and Pan, it's really be a professional like up, and it's been quite linear, but it's just, it's been going in a great direction, and it's I'm glad I have all this experience before it. Great. I'm grateful for it, and I didn't get it for free. I didn't get it too young. I have the experience. I respect what like all the energy, and so we're very respectful of what we have. Alex also did a lot of stuff before, and building a duo. A lot of duos I know like they can have a hard time, especially after we've passed the 7-year gap, and now we're into our 8th year. And you got these milestones, the 3 years, the 7 years, and a couple and so on. And we're doing fine. Like we've evolved, and we are different also, but we have this great relationship and this great project that's kind of bigger than us, and we respect that.
Yeah, I was curious because you both had a fan base, right? So was it putting it together? People must have been aware that you guys were together? Did that kind of create a little bit of buzz as well?
We didn't have that much of a fan base. We had a following, but my following was my friends. And by the time I was 33, they were really partied out. They were starting, I was starting to be like, okay, I was known in Paris, but by a generation that was kind of like dying off, like they were. So it was also, we really started fresh. Our crew of DJs loved Revolta and started playing it, but it was instantaneously, it kind of got in the French hype, and it was immediately, it wasn't like just our friends or like our local crew supporting us, but we got some support from like the Corsicans loved it. Like we play in Calvi and Corsica, and like, it kind of spread out. We got some good articles, and so we didn't build. I think I had built on my friend on that network for a long time, but it was definitely dying off at that moment.
Okay. And then you had to like pretty much rebuild it, right? Rebuild it up.
And it's just like, it's new people. It's people like the fans and the people who enjoyed Paul and Pan. Of course, all my friends like gave me a call afterwards and like, wow, it's amazing. But it's just, it was new people. It's a different way. Like, when you're this kind of, you can be a DJ who plays local parties. Like when I was in San Francisco, I played in the Mission, this and that, and you post and you have your friends get excited and stuff like that. But it's different. Paul and Pan is just, we communicated. We had a label, we had a structure. It was much more structured. It was different. It didn't feel the same at all. And Le Baron was just finished right then, so we didn't have a resident club in Paris anymore. We started playing cities around France. We played mostly places we had never played before. And we started playing, instead of being in a resident DJ network, we were in a touring band network, or like touring DJ network.
Was that different than anything? Like, had you toured prior to that, or is it, like you said, just resident DJ stuff? Yeah,
exactly. No, I had not toured. I had not toured with my previous band, Open Space and Stars. I also created a project in 2012, right before Paul and Pan. I went to record in Morocco with Gnawa musicians. It's like this mystical music. And that's one of the projects I came back with. And when Alex and the DJs at Le Baron saw that I did that, that kind of created Paul. That was part of what created the interest, I think, of Alex. He was like, wow, like I was progressing on my production, and also on my level of being able to collaborate, record other people, and just make a cool record. You should definitely check that out. The record's called Roudani 434, Roudani, Roudani, and the band is called the Atlas Collective, and that's a record I'm really proud of. But anyways, that was, we were talking about touring. That wasn't touring, but that was traveling to record. So I was already experimenting also a lot with my friends. Since I moved in the factory, we were breaking the formats and trying to do things differently and trying to work between us. And like, already just leaving Paris and like living this lifestyle. I was already kind of leaving this resident. I knew I couldn't be a resident DJ much longer. It wasn't fun. It was a generational thing. We had a blast, but after you had a blast for 10 years, you're kind of, you feel like you need something new.
Sure. So Polo and Pan is when you really decided, hey, this is going to be a career. We need some longevity here. Let's really focus on making.
I mean,
this.
I was collaborating with a bunch of people, and out of these collaborations, just the one with Alex, like it felt right, and people were super interested in it right away, and so we had this song, and they're like, you should choose a name. Like we weren't thinking, okay, let's start a band. It's like, you guys are a band that we want to sign or do something with. What's your name? So we went for something simple and like, DJ Peter Pan and DJ Polo Corp, and it just became Polo and Pan. It had a nice ring to it too. And yeah, we just had Noemi and Benjamin, who are the guys who do all our visuals and did our first jackets for the first EP. They were DJs at Le Baron also.
Oh wow!
So we were all resident DJs together. They went on to create this application called Radio with 5 O's, radio.com. It's an app, and it's a big world map with decennials, and you can pick a country and a decennial, like Brazil 60s, or you can go listen to Afghanistan in the 30s, or like Russia in the 40s, and see what's happening with a great created playlist. So these are also very ambitious and kind of crazy, like creative people. And yeah, we had the team. The team was kind of was building itself up from all the previous work, and kind of like things came to fruition. Like it was all ripe, and then like things, just started working. And Polo and Pan was ready to activate.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. What an incredible app. That's fascinating to find out what music was happening in all around the world in certain time periods. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So Revolta, our first song, it's a sample from Italian 40s from Italy, and we were Alex is a partner in radio, and he was classifying a lot of music, and he brought a few samples, like, I like this song, I like this song. I was like, okay, I like this, let's sample it, and that's how we started Revolta. So it's all intertwined.
Interesting. That's really cool. That's really fascinating. I've never even heard of something like that. Like, how would you even know what was happening in Afghanistan in the 30s? You know what I mean? Like, to be able to pull those type of music, like that's really incredible.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I got a call, but I just had to.
So what was the first, you talked about like the three year milestone, and then 7 year, what was the first like big milestone for Polo and Pan?
No, but I guess along the road, like it's, as I say, it's pretty linear and pretty progressive, but the album obviously was making our first album was, it's quite a challenge. And we're lucky because we released the great EP, Canopé. Canopé came in 2016 with Baccarat, Canopé and Nana. And Canopé and Nana has been our biggest song so far. I think like now the new stuff we're releasing might get bigger, but we met these guys from the US pretty recently who came and said, these songs, some of these songs you wrote are what we call hero tracks, and they have no promotion, no marketing, and they just keep on growing up and blowing up in new territories constantly. And you can just see the numbers on Canopé and Nana, they're just like going up and up over the past 4 years.
Yeah, they're crazy on Spotify.
Exactly. They get a lot of algorithmic recommendation and stuff like that. And so yeah, we're lucky we did Dorothy. Well, Dorothy, I think, was like an important song also because we really pushed it's a long song with a lot of parts, and we recorded with the girls who followed us on stage afterwards. There was 2 girls back then, Marguerite and Victoria. Marguerite is no longer performing with us, but Victoria is still like singing most of our songs and on stage with us. And so yeah, first, every EP was a little milestone, because Plage Isolée was the first time after Revolta we did some pop music, and that was, I think, 2014. 2015 we come with Dorothy, and we, I think, do like an interesting left field disco club track, which is still one of our biggest tracks. And then after that, Canopy and Nana were really defining for us, and really pursuing. Yeah, we were listening to a lot of Exotica back then, and like our love of Brazil also transpires really in that record. And I think a lot of people related to that. Canopy is also a song about nature, the love of nature, and that's a very universal theme, and with a kind of fresh angle on it. And for the French audience, for sure, they understood the lyrics and they really related to the song on that level. And yeah, we, like it was a build-up. That was 2016, 2017. We released Caravel, and we start doing our first live performances. And we're with this tour manager, this touring company called Super, which is like a French kind of indie project tour manager. And yeah, we built right away. We built our live show. We sucked. We were terrible, but we, the visuals, everything. It was kind of hit and miss in the beginning because we had no idea what we were doing, and we didn't have like these bigger than life personalities. Also, but yeah, slowly but surely, we kind of navigated through that. And in 2018, we re-edited the album. We added a few songs, and Universal Music, under the label Caroline, started distributing us. So we still had our label, but we were distributed by Universal, and that really opened, I guess, the record. Like they activated some marketing on other territories, and so that was preparing our tour in the US in 2019, where kind of the idea, and we were already developing a bit the US with Super. We did these tours where we were doing very small venues. We were carrying our gear. We're like kind of like really grinding. But we knew we had to do that, especially in the US, because it's a hard market to crack for a French band.
I was going to say, especially since you sing a lot of your songs in French, like to be able to achieve like Coachella or, even the Cross Festival, the amount of people you're playing to. I know Americans don't take they're, like you said, they're a hard audience to capture, especially if you're not singing in English a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of the music, like we consider singing as sound, like Brazilian just sounds good. I think a lot of the songs have Brazilian. The French in Canopy, it's not only the lyrics, but it sounds good. You have these songs where the lyrics are important. You have these songs that when you listen to the Bee Gees, just the voice sounds good. It's a sound. It's not only, so you don't need to understand the sense of the track to see that it's like, it sounds so good. So we try to make nice vocal harmonies, like nice vocoders, and like subtle treatment of the voices. And at the end of the day, there's not that many, like Canopy is one of our big songs in French, but other than that, there's no big song in French. We had Cœur Croisé in song, but we don't play it on stage. And I don't think it feels really like, there's quite an international span. Like the album goes, a lot of countries. It has Baccarat, which is in Africa. It has Kyrgyz, which is more like Eastern Europe. So like, I think a lot of international audiences can relate, but indeed the American audience is a hard one to capture for an electronic music band. They're more like hip hop and soul and folk, and they have this old, this grassroots culture, different culture from the Europeans in terms of music they consume. But I think we're right at the junction of, they also like Daft Punk, and they're interested. They like the Frenchies, they like Justice, and so on. So yeah, we're lucky, we're blessed. The music just kind of like, captured the audience, and it built up. We did a great Coachella performance. I think the show is engaging, and in that way it's quite American. It's a performance more, it's like, it's a poor, so people were really dancing. I thought compared to other shows I saw that were more static, we're really, getting people bouncing around on Jacadi and like, like dancing for real. And so, yeah, that was, an important not sure where I lost my track, but
you answered the question. I mean, obviously the whole virus and COVID took a huge toll on everybody, but you guys are really, really building up, especially in the US market. I mean, to play Coachella in 2019, that's huge. And then I did see that you were supposed to play, like I read that you're supposed to play like Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles, which was massive, and all the shows get canceled. Like where were you guys at when that all hit? And like, obviously it affected you directly, but did that put like, were you able to write this new record during the span of the last year and a half? Like, where were you when coronavirus hit, and how'd that affect the new album?
Yeah, I think it was, well, for sure, like Hollywood Bowl was like a real dream come true. Like it's like the next really big thing is going to be our biggest show ever.
Mhm.
Hopefully we can, that'll happen to us next year. But I think to be honest, we toured for 3 years. We worked really hard, and we were quite burnt out after all the tours and the American tour. And we were supposed to release a record and then do all these summer shows. And I can't imagine how we could have like finished the album correctly and integrated it into this new live shows, that we were going to perform. Like it would have just been untenable. And you need to take, you need a humane kind of rhythm. You need to like work really hard after a tour. You need to kind of like stop for a bit. And then, so that's what happened. It was, we kind of got lucky on our timing because we really had this time to do the album. It still felt like, we're still under a lot of pressure to finish on time. We had all these songs we started maybe 30 songs during the past years. And then like, so we were picking and choosing among them and trying to like pick the ones to finish and release. But so what we did is we released an EP, like the three tracks. And we released also the mixtape with a lot of our edits, like a lot of our unreleased material came out in Home Sweet Home. And we thought, okay, this is kind of like a mini album. Like it's not chopped up. You can't listen to it but for fans, for the people who love it the most, they can hear a lot of like unreleased material from Po and Pan on the mixtape.
That's amazing. And then the new record coming out in 10 days. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, no, we're excited. Like the two first singles are really picking up nicely, and the album, so Cyclorama, is about the grand narrative is life cycles. We like to, like tell stories a bit about our records. As Caravel was like more like a trip through space, and this is more like not a trip, but like questioning different moments in life. There's the first song is a birth song for Alex's son, and we have a requiem, and we have some transcendent songs, and we have some childhood songs, and we're also like kind of in the middle of our lives. We had this moment with COVID where we could pull back and kind of like consider everything we've done up to here, and just think about life a bit. And this record, of course, we're trying not to be prisoner of concepts. It's about music first thing, and like a lot of songs we didn't try to make it in specific order, saying, okay, there's the birth and like death is going to be the last song, whatever.
Oh, okay.
We try to make it a nice musical experience, but it's a record. We poured a lot of energy into it, and so much that like, just like 2 months ago when it's finished, I can't really listen to and enjoy it anymore. I was like, I didn't know. You're confused when you listen to a song like 150 hours. You don't, it gives you nothing anymore. Or you just hear details that frustrate you and so on. So I haven't been listening to it, and I'm just listening to the singles as they come out and seeing the reaction of people, and that's been super gratifying. Now we're excited. So we're gonna have a summer where we're just gonna be DJing and moving back into preparing our live show as of September. And we announced the tour now, so we'll be touring. We'll start with the US in December.
Yeah, exciting.
And that's cool. I guess the pandemic was good to take this year off, and it's for us and for the quality of the music, I think was a great thing. I hope we can do it again. We can say, okay, like let's actually take this time and not try to overdo it. You need to take a break once in a while. Sure.
And I did see your tour dates. I mean, for you, I lived in San Francisco for a number of years working on the radio there. And I saw you guys were playing Bill Graham Civic. That must be a pretty cool moment. That would probably be a huge show for you. Have you ever played there before?
You know what? No, I don't even know the venue. I lived in San Francisco, but no, Bill Graham Civic, I've never been there. It's a big, no, never. No, I used to go to Mezzanine and the Rickshaw Stop, like, those venues were the venues where the DJs actually, like that scene was playing, but I never made it to those bigger venues.
So you must
it's the biggest venue we've ever played. So it's exciting for us.
That's huge. I mean, that was the big electronic venue when I lived up there. I mean, like Avicii would play there, or Calvin Harris. Like those are the artists that would play it prior to playing the big stadiums. But like that's the spot. I mean, yeah. Oh, that's cool that you played Rickshaw Stop. So I'm sure you know my friend Aaron Axelson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a big supporter of the electronic music scene.
Yes, it rings a bell. Like it's been like now 14 years. I was there, but the name rings a bell, and I remember. Yeah, there's a lot of cool people on that scene. San Francisco it was great back then. I hear it's a bit harder to move in right now for DJs. Like the scene is a bit harder to get a living for an artist right now in San Francisco.
Sure. Yeah, I lived there in 2010, and I was working on the radio there. And the station I worked for, we did this cool show at night, and like I came from San Diego, where electronic music really wasn't a big thing until like Cross Festival happened. Really, I mean, in 2010, it wasn't what it is now. But San Francisco, we did this thing called Subsonic, and it was a show that happened like at midnight to like 3 a.m, and it was all electronic music and DJ'd together. But it kind of fit with the lifestyle and what was happening there. And Rickshaw Stop and Mezzanine, those were like the big clubs that a lot of these artists came out of, which was really, really cool.
Yeah. No, I have great memories of San Francisco. Yeah, one of my best friends is, I haven't been back in a while, but I'm sure it's changed a lot. So I don't want to I'd be depressed to not see the dive bars like 222 or like some of those small bars where I used to hang out a lot. I'm sure they're all gone.
I know, unfortunately, probably. Well, yeah. Well, and thank you so much for doing this. This has been amazing. I really appreciate you taking time. You're very welcome.
I hope it wasn't too confusing. You guys seemed a bit confused. I was confusing myself, but I've never done the mental process of going through these moments, and I feel like it's an interesting story, but there's so many bifurcations, a lot of people I didn't mention. And there was a lot of things. I guess the thing you can get out of this is you got to grind real hard when you have a passion. And some people get overnight success, and for some people it takes a long time. But when you put in the time and you have the passion, things can come together. And all that time you feel maybe you're losing your time. No, it's all time where you're ripening and you're maturing, and you're getting the experience that will one day come out in your music.
Yeah, that's kind of the answer to my last question. I was going to ask you before I let you go, is if you had any advice for aspiring artists.
Exactly. Well, see, I got you on that one. No, but for sure, like that. I think that was my trick. All my friends tell me, that's they were all surprised that I made it and that I made it. So we're not like a massive project, but it's a great success, and it's picking up, and it's I think that's the strength of Paul and Pan. It's going to keep on picking up because it's built on a lot of previous experiences that give us the maturity, the drive, and the energy, and also the respect for what we're doing and for the audience and so on to do something worthwhile. And my objective was always to do something that would last. It was funny when I sat down with my psychologist when I was 18. She's like, "What's your goals?" And I said, I want to do something that will outlast me when I die. That's my first goal in life.
Wow.
And she said, that's very rare. Like she said, that's pretty amazing, but most people want love or security, or they want money, but they never say that. That's going to be like 10th down the list. And for me, it was very clear that's something I aspire to that, which can be a bit pretentious also. So she's like, you got to be careful. There's some ego in there. You got something to prove. Is it really worth it? Is life about that? Like, isn't life about enjoying what's happening right now? Is it about leaving something for what? So I've been dealing with those questions, but yeah, exactly. Like I've learned a lot to just enjoy the moment and try to make music about that. And it's not Mozart what we're producing, but we're trying to produce something fun, engaging, and maybe 1 or 2 songs will last.
Celebrate this July 4th with a special presentation of A Capital Fourth. Join your host Vanessa Williams with performances from Sea to Shining Sea, starring Jimmy Buffett, Gladys Knight, Alan Jackson, Cynthia Erivo, Pentatonics, Renee Fleming, Train, Jennifer Nettles, Mickey Guyton, Jimmy Allen, Ali E. Carvalho, Laura Osnes, Ali Stroker, and the greatest live fireworks display in the USA. It's A Capital Fourth, sponsored by the Boeing Company and American Airlines. Sunday, July 4th, 8/7 Central. Only on PBS.
Been thinking about McDonald's all day. Can't get it off my mind. I can already taste it. Ooh, got my mind on my mouth and my mouth ready for some Mickey D's deal.
There's a deal for every moment at McDonald's.
Right now, get 2 of your favorites for just $3.50. Mix and match a classic McChicken, a hot and spicy McChicken, or a juicy McDouble. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal. Single item at regular price.